Is the TV ratings roller coaster going downhill with the ratings, steeply then uphill, then downhill again? Because fans cannot work out if this is Doctor Who anymore. Another week, another episode, another massive shift in the TV ratings for Doctor Who. This seems more like a ratings roller coaster, doesn't it, than a ratings hit or a ratings juggernaut. A drop of 560,000 from Space Babies to Boom, a rise of 580,000 from Boom to 73 yards. Now a 500,000 drop to Dot and Bubble. I mean, these seismic 20% drops and then 20% lifts do not tell us everything. Ratings are not the be-all and end-all in this argument and debate, but they certainly indicate a lack of consistency, a lack of growing loyalty, a lack of momentum. These roller coaster ratings figures possibly indicate something else. As viewers dip in to check on an episode, maybe they don't know if the diet they're being served is actually Doctor Who anymore. It says Doctor Who on the tin lid, but is it Doctor Who as the BBC public has known it for 61 years? In this clip of our Sunday debate, we focus on the ratings and whether any of us can call this Doctor Who anymore. If we came up on this series now with fresh eyes, would we stick around? Is the lead character of interest? Does he lead? Join us now. Leave a like and add a subscription for more material. Cheers for that. So here's my question then, just to kind of continue this and see what you think in the thread. If we were playing Dot and Bubble, if we were online in that little kind of bubble ourselves, would you actually swipe left or right? If you were new to this series, this Doctor Who series, you weren't a loyal fan, you just discovered it. From the 5 episodes we've had this year, the Christmas one and the 3 specials, is it a program that grabs you? Or are you just hoping upon hope that it gets better? So I'm going to ask you, I'm going to ask the panel, where do you stand at the moment, judging it now? Because I feel as though, a bit like Jeremy, and as you know, we had our chat recently about why he's turning his back on New Who. Please have a look if you've not seen it, because he's quietly spoken and he talks an awful lot of sense. But basically, where does everybody stand? Are you happy? Are you thinking, gosh, if I was a casual viewer, I think this is brilliant? All I'll say, and it's got to be anecdotal at first, and I'll throw the ratings in at some point during this, but Jamie's mum and dad are casual viewers, and they just said, not for them. They loved 73 yards. They didn't like this one. And that up and down is not how to build a momentum for a program. Rachel, are you... can you get your head into the fact that if you were just seeing this program for the first time over the last months, would you be wanting to hang around?
I'd have switched off by now, I think. Yeah. Because I don't like being told in entertainment what to think and how to think. I don't like being preached at. And it's very preachy at the moment. Yeah. So yeah, I'd swipe to the right.
Yeah. Okay, Hugh, where would you stand on this one? I mean, honestly, you're not a Doctor Who fan. You've just discovered this series. Can you get your head into that?
So I think I'd be looking at it as an anthology show such as Black Mirror or Inside Number 9. And I'd be thinking it's not quite anywhere near as good as those. And it does go very preachy rather than being properly dark. I might give it some more goes just to see if that gets sorted, and given the fact that there's an ongoing story, I might last to the end of this season. I'm nearly there, but I would be rating it much lower than certainly either of those shows.
Yeah, and as I come to Gary, George Pellepe, if you want to answer this one, Gary, I don't understand this criticism. Would the panel prefer the Doctor to be asexual like in the classic series? Yes. My answer is yes. I don't know why we've gone down this rabbit hole. Go on, Gary.
All I'm going to say is that I would have dropped out as a casual viewer who wasn't like emotionally invested in the show over decades. I would have dropped out on the scene in the Christmas special where the Doctor breaks out into song in front of the Goblin King. That is the one scene I would have gone, I'm out. This is just too stupid.
And we will discuss in our criteria. I mean, I've got points to make about the plot, etc., the repetition, and all the rest of it. Michelle, you as I introduce you tonight, you've got issues with this episode, but you've marked it, higher than everybody else.
And it's probably dropping right now too. I'm like, I'm back to some points here.
It's working.
Since I have been that fan, and I was that fan not too long ago, really, in the span of Doctor Who's history, and I was that fan who found Doctor Who by accident while channel hopping during summer reruns, and I instantly fell in love with Peter Capaldi. Being that new fan, I don't know. I don't think I would be hanging on, or if I did, I wouldn't be the fan that I am now. I was still wondering why this show has such the cult following. I wouldn't be that person who wanted to go in and see everything back. I would probably be hanging on because, again, my love of history, my love because I'm looking forward to the Regency episode. That would keep me going, and also because we're so near the end of the season. But I wouldn't understand the love of the show. I wouldn't definitely get the show either.
No, and as David Mullins saying here, it's not scraping the depths of the Chibnall Whittaker era, but it isn't anywhere near as good as 2005 and 10, and possibly not even Capaldi's last season. Now, the thing is, there's so many issues here about whether it's right or left. I mean, one of my issues is he the Doctor? One of my issues is this even following the Doctor Who formula? Because not much, to me, happened in the episode. What normally happens is, you get used to 3 or 4 parts in the classic series and all the rest of it, and develops character, develops a setting. Here, he shows you the world, he sets it all up. Not much suspense. I've seen Rachel talk about that. Not much suspense, really. And then there's a quick kind of escape, and then you press some computer buttons and it's all sorted. And he's done that a few times with Space Babies and everything. This isn't Doctor Who, Rachel.
No, the resolution's way too quick, isn't it?
Yeah.
I would prefer some of the things that happened in that episode, like the concepts are there, the ideas are there, to have actually started a little bit earlier. That's what I would have preferred.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I wish we had blooming cliffhangers.
Oh, me too.
Yeah.
I mean, you have reprehensible, what we assume are reprehensible creatures in terms of the slugs. We don't know, we assume because they're eating these people, they're bad, but they're bad people, so maybe the slugs aren't so bad.
Yeah.
But, I mean, on the surface, we have one group of monsters, and then it turns out we have another group of monsters that I guess the Doctor is trying to save from the first group of monsters. Who wants to watch that? I mean, the Doctor,
there was so much not resolved. For example,
and you don't know,
sorry, Michelle, the home world has all been eaten. And nobody seemed to be bothered. These slugs have massacred everybody. The other thing that I thought made it doesn't feel like Doctor Who is whether they're slugs, tractators, and we'll look at mollusks in a moment in Doctor Who, but they had no purpose really. It was the Dot that did. They had no voice. There was nothing about the slug. They were just slow moving slugs. There was nothing about them. And good old Doctor Who monsters, whether they're in rubber or anything, tend to want the universe, grab the planet, change it to their way and all the rest of it. And it didn't seem to do that. While somebody responds, I've just put the ratings up there, as you can see on the left-hand side, to look at all of the episodes now, all 9. And we've hit that interesting moment. Remember, episodes 1 and 2, I'm going to say 2.5 because it was the same night. Then it falls by 500,000. Then it goes up by 500,000. Then it goes down again by 500,000. We're playing with 20% of your viewing public, up and down, 20%. Now, we've been talking about whether it's Doctor Who. We've been talking about being lectured at the end. Do you think this plays into it? Because I'm trying to account for this spike and then trough and spike and then trough.
I have heard. Was there a big soccer match or a football match last night also in England?
No, last week.
Okay.
There was a big one, but it wasn't on mainstream television. So you had the European Championships, Champions League was on, but that was on at 8:00 and not on terrestrial.
Okay.
There is no reason. There is no reason. I know people can say the weather. People can say, was there a football match and all the rest of it? But honestly, if you're a Doctor Who fan, how many of us are there? I thought there were a bit more than that. I do think it's not built into a climax. It's not building momentum. The talk of the town, if you look at reviews, people in the street, the media, they're not talking about it. And people can argue the toss and say, these ratings, you're putting too much on them. I'm sure, Rachel, you've seen this on your own channel. People go, you're putting too much on the ratings. You are obsessed. You need to wait 2 years. And then after that, when everything's settled, blah, blah, blah. Okay, then, I don't care. Forget the ratings. But nobody's talking about the program.
No one's talking about it. They're only talking about the things that are just really irritating them about it. And that's the messaging. And I think that puts people off as well.
Keep in mind that those people who are going, oh, the ratings, overnight ratings don't matter. When the ratings are good, they're the first ones to extol, hey, look how great Doctor Who's doing.
They tried to do that with 73 Yards, I noticed. Yep. But that was just pure luck. And I just, I've lost my train of thought. It's fine.
Well, I never want to hear Peter Capaldi get blamed for dropping ratings ever again. I mean, look at this.
Well, some people are saying we owe Jodie Whittaker a big apology.
No,
I don't think so either.
No, we owe Capaldi apology. We do for a lot of things.
I don't mind Capaldi.
Well, I actually, Bryn says, well, there's no rhyme or reason. I actually disagree a little bit with that, because clearly, if you look at the arc of those numbers, that they lost 200,000 people from episode 1 to episode 2 because people didn't like Space Babies. They were actively turning it off, because if they would have just, since it was back to back, if they would have just left the TV on and gone to do something else, those numbers would have been closer. That means people were actively turning off before or throughout episode 2. And the episode 3 number, as is the case with every show, is a reaction to how people felt from the previous week. Are they going to tune in again? Clearly, that bottoming out of 2 million for episode 3 is because people clearly didn't like episode 1 and episode 2. Episode 4, on the surface, it seems like it's the FA Cup numbers of televisions, like in pubs or bars or homes or whatever, that just happen to be left on. And then episode 5 is, now we're down back to, because people aren't liking what they're seeing. The one thing I'm really interested in, Brandon, last thing I'll say about this, is for episode 4, those +7 numbers that we haven't got yet, +7 and +7. If that 2.62 spike was just because of the FA Cup play out and people were just leaving it on, that means that people weren't necessarily glued into the episode itself, which would mean, I don't think people were going, oh, well, there was episode 4 was so much higher, that means the +7 numbers are going to be so much higher. I don't think that's going to be the case if people weren't tuning in because of the quality of the episode itself, if you see what I mean, if it was just a knock-on effect. That's why I think those episode 4 +7 numbers are going to be more in line with the a drop from the other 3.
They might be. However, the word of mouth for episode 4 was actually still pretty good, even if people were confused by it. So maybe some people might have watched. I don't know, but it'll be interesting to see what it's going to be. I think the overnight ratings do tell us a lot, though. I think they do.
They tell us that it's getting, I mean, I'm just bringing in Archer Collin. The sense feed, the most interesting analysis would include what was on either side of the show and ongoing viewing figures throughout each episode. And continued, how many of the views are just people who haven't switched off, as you were saying, Gary, after the previous item, or switched on ready for whatever's on next? Well, that's what we found with the Eurovision, because they got 7 million odd. And so that 2.6, 2.4, I think they dipped for the second one because people went to the loo. People maybe didn't like what they saw. I needed a break. I know, talking to John Daly, there was no way he was going to watch 2 episodes together. There's a lot of reasons. I think putting them together was a bad move for lots of reasons. But all people can say, whether you're for the ratings or against the ratings, and I take your point, Archer Collin, but we've done 5-minute analyses in other streams. We've looked at every 5 minutes when people are dropping out. But if you see there, it's not building. It's not going anywhere. This series, with all the hype, with all the marketing, that's how I started my program, with all that Disney reach, it's not going anywhere. And that must be a concern. Yes, the figures compared to the 1% Club, the figures next to the news on ITV are fine. But I think they expected, and Julie Gardner said it herself, she wanted this to reach every part of the planet. They wanted reach. I don't think they wanted to be neck and neck with the 1% Club game show on ITV. I don't.
No, they want to be winning, don't they?
Yeah. Otherwise, you can make cheaper shows. You know,
Mm.
don't make Doctor Who because there's cheaper shows out there to make, and you could fill the schedules.